So here's the problem. Let me tell you what the problem is. We're millions of votes ahead of Cruz. Millions. You don't hear that. These dishonest people up here don't tell you. I mean, I just watched. No, these are the most dishonest people. They're terrible. I mean, I just watched a report from CNN. It was so dishonest. It was so one-sided, so disgusting. And you know what? That's the way it goes. You almost say, how can I be in first place by a lot? They give us the most dishonest reporting. And that's the way it is, folks. That's the way it is. And we just get used to it. But I'm telling you, the media itself is so dishonest. And you know, honestly, and I do wonder, I'm millions of votes ahead, which they don't even talk about. They never even mention it. They talk about delegates. And I'm hundreds of delegates ahead. But the system, folks, is rigged. It's a rigged, disgusting, dirty system. It's a dirty system. And only a non-politician would say it. Because I don't care. Look, if it doesn't happen, I'm here for one reason. Make America great again. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. But when I started, I was looking at borders. I was looking at trade deals. Those were my two primary things. And then you had a thing called Paris. And then you had other things happen and tremendous crime all over the world. And you had radical Islamic terrorism, which our president refuses to use the name. And you can't clean up a problem if you don't even want to say what the problem is. You can't do it. You can't do it. So we have a big problem, and it's got to be cleaned up. And I didn't want to go into Iraq. I said it's going to destabilize the entire Middle East, and that's right. But the way Obama got us out was a disgrace. He gave a date. We will be out. The enemy went back. He gave a specific date. And then he took everybody instead of leaving some behind. And what a mess we have. We just handed Iran, we gave it to them on a silver platter. They've wanted it for decades and decades. We gave it to them on a silver platter. We handed them Iraq. That was even better than the deal. They hoodwinked us where we paid $150 billion. They kept the prisoners far too long. They should have let those prisoners go before we ever started negotiating. The Iran deal is a disaster. Now, on top of that, they get Iraq. And you know what's going to happen, folks? They're going to take over Yemen, and they want Yemen because of the long border with Saudi Arabia, and they want the oil in Saudi Arabia. And we're weak and we're ineffective. Now, here's what happens. Some of the newspapers, some were actually pretty honest about it, but they talked to me about military defense. Do you know that we defend Germany? We defend Japan. We defend South Korea. We defend Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia is a good one because Saudi Arabia, these are money machines. These are behemoths. Saudi Arabia was making, when the oil was high, $1 billion a day. They have more money than you could ever imagine. They have some of the largest funds in the world. We're defending them for practically nothing, folks. And you know what? If you had the right messenger, they wouldn't be there for 2 weeks if it wasn't for us. They wouldn't be there for 2 weeks if you had the right messenger. We'd be reimbursed the money that we should be reimbursed for saving a very wealthy nation. We owe $19 trillion. It's going up to $21 trillion because of the horrible, horrible budget that 3 months ago the Republicans approved. That's going up to $21 trillion, folks, very quickly. We funded in that budget Obamacare. We funded in that budget people coming in from Syria. We have no idea who they are, where they come from. There's no documentation. There's no paperwork. We funded in that budget all sorts of things, including people coming into our country illegally. Do you know that we have, right now, we take care of illegal immigrants better than we take care of, in many cases, our veterans. We love our veterans. It's not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen anymore. So Paris happened. Then the tragedy in California happened, where you have the young man and the young woman became radicalized. They killed their 14 co-workers who gave them a party just before for their child that was born. And we said, folks, there's something wrong. And we're either going to get smart and we're going to get vigilant and we're going to get tough, or we are not going to have a country anymore. We're not going to have a country. And as far as the people coming in from Syria, do you remember when they said it was 3,000? Well, now do you remember I said a much, much greater number? Everyone said, oh, it's so ridiculous what he's saying. Guess what, folks? I happen to be right. We're taking them in by the thousands, and we have no idea where they're coming from and who they're representing. Do you ever look at the Great Migration, that line? And it's a sad thing. And we should build a zone someplace, a safe zone in Syria. Do something. And have the Gulf states fund it. I don't want to fund it. We're going to have the Gulf states fund it. We'll be responsible, but have somebody else put up the money. Because we don't have the money, folks. We've dissipated our jobs. We've dissipated our money. So we have the Gulf states do it. But did you ever see the migration that comes in and you see all of the cell phones? Where do they get cell phones? And you see the symbols on the cell phones. You know what the symbols are, right? Many, many very terrible symbols. And the ISIS flag is a symbol on many. And we take these people. How stupid are we, folks? How stupid? How long is it going to take before we figure it out? We can't let it happen anymore. Just like Albany, just like this state that I love, just like I look at what's going on, I see the jobs just fleeing, but they're fleeing the whole country. But actually, New York State is probably hit just about the worst in the whole United States. Do you remember when they wanted me to run for governor? And I said, I'll run, but I'm going to take care of New York State. And I said, but I don't want to go through primaries, because if I go through a primary, oh, look at that. Oh, there we have one. Go ahead. Yeah, get him out of here, please. Get him out. See, he stands there smiling because he knows nobody's going to touch him. You know, he's protected, right? All right, don't hurt him, but get him out. Get him out. Get him out. These guys are standing there taunting all of us, folks. They stand there and they taunt us all. What a shame. And then the dishonest media will say, oh, Trump was very, very tough. He was so tough. He raised his voice. He's allowed to scream. He's allowed to throw punches. But if we do anything, it's like the worst thing I've ever seen.